Hi, welcome back to Lakeside Quilt Making Arts. Today's video is about motive blockheads, but I wanted to start it by saying I did a little bit of something on the pick a pedal. Yesterday's video, I kept on trying to figure out how to exchange my log cabin blocks that are on this column so that I could get this piece where I wanted it. But I was leaving it down here and trying to change out another piece to go on one side or the other. And I thought, okay, enough is enough. You've got to get that other block put up. And then this is really where you want to put that block because you like how it fits. So I said to myself, all right, now, you know you want this block at the top. You like how this row is going to have a little curve that kind of caps it. All right. So I had to figure out how to do that, and I did. I put it where I wanted it, I rearranged a little bit, and then made a new block today. I feel much better. This is it. No more decisions to make on the log cabins, and I was really very pleased with my 1/4 inch seam on this new block. It turned out perfect. I trimmed as I went, and I used the painter's tape that I've laid down on my sewing machine so I can get a scant 1/4 inch, and it worked out beautifully. So that's all good. So now let's move the needle on motive blockheads, and that would be motive blockheads 5, group 2, block 19, the foundation paper piecing. In the last video about motive blockheads, we picked out our fabrics, and now it's time to cut those fabrics. And if you remember, I was going kind of crazy on my color disbursements on this one block because I'm not making a pretty block. I'm not making a pretty block. I'm saying it right now. If you're expecting me to have a block that looks all pretty, that looks all balanced and is aesthetically pleasing by itself, that's not happening. This block is made to bridge the left side and the right side and the top and the bottom and kind of blur some lines. And in the middle of all that, it's going to have a pretty little pink star. So how does one cut out fabric to make an ugly block? Well, it goes pretty typical, actually. Especially when it's foundation paper piecing, you've got to look at each little square. Each little piece and determine which fabric you're cutting from. And of course, the cutting instructions are here. And I was really careful to make sure I went all the way down my 6-inch block column. And, but then you got to look at your A3. Where is that? That may be a different fabric than your B1, C1, or A2 if you're being creative. But if you're making that all one star, it's going to be all one fabric. And so they're telling you here, fabric one is A3, B1, C1, A2, and then E1, D1. Yeah, they're wanting you to make this and this the same as this fabric, and they're wanting you to make E4, A5. Where's E4? And here, they're wanting you to make those the same. No, is that right? Yeah, E4 and E5. That's kind of interesting that they want that to all be out of fabric 1. Interesting. And then fabric 2, and then fabric 3. Okay, we didn't do any of that. So what I have to do is whenever I am going down my list here of A3, I got to look at what I figured out where my fabrics are going to go. So I did that. A3 is and B1, C1, A2 are all pink because they're going to be my little pink star right smack in the middle. And then right around that star, I have all of this lovely navy floral from the Shoreline fabric. A1, B2, C2, C3, B3. That's all right here. All right? No problem. Just single cuts for each little piece. And all I did was just use my little felt tip pen, and I just went on the back of my really fancy fabric markers that I've been using for a year and a half now. I just wrote on the back side of them. On the front side is pencil. I didn't want to confuse them because, they're, high dollar here. I want to make sure they last. Okay, so then what's around the outside of that? that's where I'm going to have this darker shirt fabric. Well, I got that. No problem. That's going to be my star points. E2, D2, E3, D3, D2, E2, and D3, E3. So I've got all that right here. So it's 8 different rectangles of this, and they're all the same size, 2 by 3 1/4. Not a problem. Gotcha. Okay, where does it start getting interesting? Well, it started getting interesting on the outside of that. Well, the immediate thing on the outside of the star points is do you hear? Let me go see what she's up to. So little Miss Ruby Sue has a pig's ear, and she was trying to hide it. And I don't want her to do that on the sofa. Okay, so on the outside of the star points, we're going to have this, what is it? Yeah, D1, E1, D1, E1. It's going to be this lovely floral. This is from the Shoreline fabric. So we have this that goes up against that, which goes up against this, which goes up against the pink star, right? That's kind of our flow of colors. And I do love that we're introducing this fabric again, because it has a little bit of that taupey color that is inside some sea glass. If you remember, I'm trying to go with a color scheme that is a sea glass, because the friend who I'm giving this to, that's kind of her color scheme, a blue-green color scheme. And I haven't had a lot of taupe introduced, and I wanted to make sure this is introduced. I want to take this fabric from the right side of the quilt to the left side of the quilt. So that's why we're working with it. Is there a better solution that would kind of blend these? Yes, but that's not the only thing I'm trying to achieve here. Like I said, we're making an ugly block on purpose so that we can have the quilt that we want. All right, so then what's next? Where did it start getting interesting? Well, it starts getting interesting on everything around that. When you start talking about this point, these triangles in the middle of each side, and then the triangles on the corners of each side. So I had to go individually. All right, this is E6. E6 on this side is a green lattice. Where did that go? Here it is. It's green lattice. But E6 on that side is the chevron. All right, so I got to make sure that goes in the right direction. And then D4 on this side, where is it? There it is my green floral. And on this side, it's white. And why am I choosing that? That's because the block that's over here is nothing but green lattice in the background. So I want that green lattice to blur into here. And the reason I have the green floral right here, which we haven't talked about yet, I'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so we've covered each of our corners, right? So we've got chevron here because the block above it has a chevron. This is our chevron. That's our chevron. The block above it has chevron right here, and it has white right here. All right, and then we're green lattice here because the block over here has green lattice in it. So we're blending our lines, blurring our lines. All righty. What's here? Yes. So this is our green floral is here because our block that is right over here has this as its background. All right, so that's very individualized for each one of those. All is good. It's just really important that we do good marking. So we have to make sure that we don't lose track of this little drawing, and we don't lose track of our very high style, fancy, very expensive fabric markers. Okay, so what's next? Where else do we have some individuality for this really ugly block? That would be in all these corner places. So what do we have here? This is E4 on the right-hand side, this says. Okay, this is the green floral because this block over here has, I'm just going to use this for demonstration purposes, but it has this This block is nothing but this. So I want to take some of that green over into here, but I don't want to take I'm already taking this fabric that's in the background of this block and I'm putting it here. But I don't want to make another really harsh line of it, like a zigzag of it. So this will go here. So it kind of brings that green over there, but it makes it dissipate. Okay, and then what's next? We've got our white. That's our E5 top, which is white because the block that's up there has white right there where that triangle's gonna go. Okay, E4, left it says E4. The block that's right here has this men's fabric in it. So that's gonna blend into this block at this point. And then E5 bottom it says, and this is the blue floral background because you guessed it, the block that's right here has this in the background. So we're gonna pull that fabric up into here. So all the blocks around it are gonna blend into this block. As this block stands alone, it's gonna be peculiar. But all in all, it should work together to bring attention to these two stars, especially this beautiful pink in the middle. We'll see how it turns out. Some days we move the needle in big ways, and some days we move the needle in little ways, just choosing one segment or one type of activity and just doing that from start to finish. Some days it's like we talked about one of the videos recently, we just create a plan and make a note about it. And that is kind of getting ourselves emotionally and mentally committed to doing that project. And that takes away from the mental energy required to get going. And that's half the battle. If any of you out there have, any ADD or ADHD or procrastination or procrastination by analysis or any of the things, or you're just a very busy person and you got a lot going on, sometimes just moving the needle to make a note is a fabulous thing. And that's what we did on this at one time, right? But today we've gone a few steps further. This time we just got everything cut out and labeled, and it feels good. I feel like, okay, my feet are wet. I'm in the waters with this project, and now we get to go swimming together. We're gonna do, how many more analogies can I come up with? Okay, what do we do next time? We put all these on a piece of paper. This is a foundation paper piecing project. And I wish I had more time that I could just go ahead and dive into it, but I don't want to. I don't want to get in the middle of something because I really don't have time. I've got 9 minutes left, and that's not time to really start anything. That is time for me to fix myself some tea and do something calm and relaxing before I have to edit. My friends, I really appreciate you being on this journey with me. What are we going to be doing tomorrow? If all works out right and I'm in the studio tomorrow, I'll be working on the Piece and Quilt Sampler project because we made a note about that. We're working on the Hovering Hawks, and then there's another one to work on as well. This, I forget what it's called. Something, I want to say cardinal. That's not it. Album. Let me find where it is in here. Let me find. It's just an album star block. I'm supposed to make one of them. It's a 12-inch, and it's on page 6. And the Hovering Hawks is on page 42. You make one of those. It's a 9-inch block. Okay, so yeah, the album star block, that's what we're making. So it's 2 things to make this month yet. So I better get with it, right? So I'll work on that tomorrow. And hopefully I'll be able to also move the needle in some way on the Pick a Petals applique and maybe do a little bit of this foundation paper piecing, because I like to, when my feet are wet, when I'm in the groove on a project, I don't like for it to sit and get cold before I get back to it, because like we just talked about, the mental energy to get reacclimated on something, that can keep us from actually coming in and getting started next time. So I like to keep things going. All right, so this star looks pretty simple to do too. I haven't given thought to how its colors are going to be dispersed, so we're not going to be making any movement on that tomorrow, but that's fine because it'll take all I've got to work on the Hovering Hawks. And what I think I'm going to do there on the Hovering Hawks, this is the Hovering Hawks, and this is the album star. Okay, this Hovering Hawks is going to be floating, so there's going to be sashing around it. Well, as you know, I am trying to do kind of a muddy, blurry kind of effect with my fabrics. I don't want a lot of harsh lines. I want it to feel like just a swirl of moody colors. And, you know, like I've been saying, it's the moody midnight oceanic storm. So will this be. Each of these triangles just needs to be a combination of different blues, and yes, there needs to be some contrast between them, but it's going to be subtle contrast. I don't expect this one to be difficult at all. So hopefully we'll make some major progress on that tomorrow. Stay tuned. Come back to see me. I'll be here. I appreciate you giving me some of your time and being on this journey with me. Have a good day. We'll see you soon. Happy stitching.